This video is for education and entertainment purposes only. Please consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health plan.
Hey beautiful soul, it's Jacqueline here from the Labia Chronicles, where I discuss all things lichen sclerosus. So if you are looking to empower yourself with information, find acceptance, and reclaim your life, then please subscribe to this channel and keep on watching. And if you have a friend or family member with lichen sclerosus and you want to learn more about the mental and physical sides of living with lichen sclerosus so that you can better support them in their journey, then please also subscribe to this channel and share it with them. All right, so this video is a little bit different than what I usually do. We're not going to do a kind of educational, informational video, and I'm not going to be exploring a specific topic in the kind of realm of sexual health and mental health. Instead, I just want to kind of chat with you and share a really exciting announcement. So I'm just going to dive right into this. It's going to be a really informal one. We're just going to kind of chit chat and hope you enjoy. If you are excited about this announcement, then please leave me a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, so I want to ask you a couple of, or maybe more than a couple, I want to ask you some questions before we kind of get to the heart of the announcement. So I want to know, are you newly diagnosed with lichen sclerosus? I also want to know, after you were diagnosed, did you go onto Google and try and find information about lichen sclerosus only to get complete information overload and get completely overwhelmed and just, throw your hands up and say, forget it, this is too much, I can't handle this, no. Or maybe instead of kind of looking for information, you joined a bunch of support groups, either in person or virtual, or kind of, like a Facebook group or Reddit or something like that, some kind of support forum. And when you got in there, were you kind of really overwhelmed by the different stories that people were sharing? So, were you kind of panicked by all of the horror stories that you were hearing? Did you have a really hard time, holding space for other people's struggles? Or conversely, did you have a hard time hearing people's positive experiences, their wins, because that just felt too impossible for you at the moment? Or maybe you joined a support group where it's kind of like an in-person or virtual kind of setting, and you had so many questions that you wanted to ask, but you weren't able to ask them all because you have to share the space. Or maybe you are just like too anxious to even ask your question in a group setting because you have social anxiety, or you're just already like, there's just so much going on that you just don't have any extra energy to get that out of your body and into the world. Or maybe, again, being in that kind of support group setting with other people, hearing about their struggles kind of set off a panic within you, or you have some really deep questions to ask, but you're worried about upsetting others, or worried about, how your question or topic or whatever might impact other people. So, you have a kind of harder time in these support group settings. So I'm curious if you can kind of relate to any of that. If you can, you are definitely not alone. This was very much all of my experience in the beginning. When I was diagnosed with lichen sclerosus, I tried to find information online, but I couldn't really find too much. The bulk of the information that I seemed to find on an initial search really just focused heavily on the steroid component. And even with a steroid component, there wasn't too much there that I could find initially other than like, use it. Okay, yeah, well, my doctor told me that, so I know that. I had a hard time finding information, and when I did, it was just like too much for me to process in that moment. Of course, I did the thing. I went on Google and I went on Google Images and I Googled images of vulvas with lichen sclerosus, which of course just made me feel so much worse and so much more afraid. I also joined any and all support groups that I could find, and I realized that for me, that wasn't the right thing for me to do in that moment because my mental health wasn't in a state where I could hold space for other people and their experiences and mine at the same time. I needed something different. That wasn't what I needed. So when I went into those groups, I would hear these horror stories and I would be convinced that that was my future. That, if I heard about someone that was in excruciating pain, that they couldn't stand, sit, sleep, anything like that, even though I wasn't as bad as that, when I was reading it, I figured that's my future. So all the horror stories that I was hearing, I would kind of be like, that's going to be me, which would, of course, be deeply upsetting and would send me into a huge state of panic and, depression and sadness and grief. So that part was really hard. And then, conversely, it wasn't just the horror stories. I couldn't even see the positive stories in, a happy light. Those were also framed in this kind of negative space for me because, I would hear about these wins or, these success stories. And I just kept thinking, that's too good to be true. Or I would think that is amazing for you, but that is not going to be me. Like, I'm happy that you could get there, but there's no way that is ever going to be me. Pardon me. Sorry, I'm really having difficulty with my voice this morning. I've been doing a lot of recording. This is the last recording that I'm doing this morning. So I had a hard time with both the wins and, the horror stories. And then I also had a difficult time in these groups because there was so much conflicting information, contradictory information. It didn't really make any sense, and it made it, an already confusing space just so much more confusing for me. Another thing, and this is just a personal thing for me, was that a lot of the information and advice given was not evidence-based, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And for many people, that is exactly what they need. But for someone with a background in science and research, for me, it's really important, and I really value evidence-based information, and I found that to be particularly lacking. So, at the end of the day, I realized that being in this space was doing my mental health so much more harm than good. And once I recognized that, I left. I left all of those groups and I kind of just went back to the drawing board. And I'm not going to kind of go into my whole story. You can find that kind of in different videos here on YouTube. But suffice it to say that, if you struggle, in those kind of support groups, you're not alone. And then there's also the support group kind of in-person or virtual component. And I struggled with that as well. So you've probably heard by now, if you have watched a few of my videos or have been following my blog for a while, you know that I struggle with anxiety. And also, you might not know this about me, and many people don't believe me when I tell them because, I speak so publicly about my lichen sclerosus, about my vulva, about my sexual health, about some of the most intimate and vulnerable topics. I speak about that very loudly on the World Wide Web. So people kind of are like, yeah, right. But it's true that I am actually a very introverted person. I'm very shy. And I have big time social anxiety. I have my whole life. I'm so much better than I was, for the majority of my life. But for, at least a good 20 years, I really struggled with social anxiety. I also have panic attack disorder, generalized anxiety, health anxiety, PTSD, like you name it in that kind of anxiety space. And I'm like, yep, that's me. And so because of this, group settings have always been kind of like my nemesis, like that scary, scary space that I want to avoid, like with everything in my body. I don't want to be there. In group settings, I often can't listen to what other people are saying or what the moderators are saying because I have so much anxious energy about like the buildup towards when they're going to call on me. And I'm so scared of being called on or like, screwing up my words or, just whatever I'm worried about, that I can't even focus on what other people are saying. And so that's really problematic because I'm actually not getting much out of it. And then, when it does come to be my turn to talk, I often freeze up and can't actually get my question out. If I do, or I have a bunch of questions, I'm not able to ask them all because I have this issue about taking up space, and it's something that I'm definitely working on, but I'm definitely very mindful and cognizant about others. And so, I never want to be the one that's asking all of the questions, because I want to make sure that other people get, their questions in. And so I really struggle in those kind of group settings. And I know that, there are others like me that struggle like that. And so, a lot of you reach out to me and chat with me in various different ways. Some people email me, some people DM me on Instagram, some people chat with me in the comments here on YouTube. But I started to notice a trend, and I saw that there was a big need for, folks needing support. And I would offer them different, kind of support groups that exist. And say, hey, there's this option, there's this option, would you be interested, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes people are like, absolutely, where has this been my whole life? I need this, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they go and they are like, that was phenomenal, thank you. But then, the other half of the people that I have this conversation with are like, no, I'm not ready for a group setting. I'm too shy. I'm a really private person, and I'd rather something more intimate, like a one-on-one. I'm not ready to hold space for other people's struggles. That's very triggering for me. I'm worried about people, bringing up some kind of trigger topics. A whole bunch of reasons why folks are not comfortable using a kind of group setting. So, my long-winded setup to my announcement is that many of you have asked me if I could do kind of one-on-one calls. And so, the first time this was asked, I thought, yeah, that'd be a really great idea and I'd love to do that, but I wasn't sure if people would be interested in doing it. So I just kind of left that there. But more and more folks have been asking for it, and I've definitely seen that there's a need and a want for this. So it took me some time to put this together, but I am super excited to announce that I will now be offering one-on-one lichen sclerosus peer support calls. So I have 3 options for you. The first is a free 15-minute consultation, and that one is not so much of a support call as it is we're kind of dipping our toes and testing the water and seeing if our personalities are a good fit. And, that's really important. It's really important that you have a good connection and a good fit with the person that is doing that kind of support work with you. And I'm fully aware that I am not everybody's cup of tea. And there are some people with whom my approach just, they don't jive with that. And that is okay. And I totally respect that. And so that's why I offer that free 15 minutes for you to tell, me a little bit about you. I'll tell you a little bit about me. You can tell me some of the things that you might want to chat about, and then I'll let you know kind of what I kind of see for us. And then you can make the decision based on that, if you want to continue or if you don't. The second option that I have is a 30-minute call. And by the way, these are all virtual, so they will be held over Zoom. So the 30-minute call is going to be $30. And then I have a 60-minute call, which will be $50. So 3 options for you to choose from. And I'm just going to chat a little bit about, kind of what we can talk about and what we can't talk about. So I'm going to actually start with what we can't talk about. These are my favorite, well, not my favorite, but, I always have disclaimers or caveats. I'm big on my caveats. So let's just talk about those really briefly. So this is like a support call. Think of me as a mentor, as someone that's done a lot of research in the lichen sclerosus space, and as someone that has a lot of lived experience in the lichen sclerosus space, as someone that lives with lichen sclerosus, and someone that's done a tremendous amount of work to get into remission, to find acceptance, and really thrive living with lichen sclerosus. So, number one, I am not a medical doctor, so I am not able to provide medical advice on these calls. Number two, I am not a psychologist, a therapist, or a counselor. That one is very important for me to, flag as well. It's a support call. Think of it as peer support, mentorship. I am not a replacement for a therapist. Number three, this again is a peer support call. It is not a crisis call. If you are in crisis, I do have a list of international crisis numbers on my website. You can go to lostlabia.com/crisis, and there you will find a ton of kind of crisis resources. Now, I do have a bit of a background in crisis work, but I'm not an official crisis work support, kind of person. I did work on a crisis line for a couple of years, a kind of assault and domestic abuse hotline. So we went through, I think it was like 12 weeks of training for that. So, I can always do some grounding techniques with you and some of those things. But again, it's no replacement for a crisis worker or a therapist or a medical doctor. Okay, cool. Disclaimers out of the way. Let's talk about what we can talk about. So there's not much that isn't on the table with me other than those things. So we can talk about general lichen sclerosus information. So if you're like newly diagnosed and you just want like a kind of LS 101, I'm happy to kind of walk you through that. I do have a background in science and research, so I am really passionate about evidence-based information, and I do my best to always kind of break down the science and deliver it to people in a way that is easy to understand and digestible, so you don't have to waste your time pulling out your hair, trying to understand the medical terms, trying to figure out, can I even trust this study? Is this study good? Etc. So we can talk about anything kind of general lichen sclerosus education and information that you would want to learn about. I'm happy to do that. We can chat about anything kind of mental health related. So we can talk about feelings of depression, of self-blame, of shame, of disgust, of confusion, of fear, anxiety. We can also talk about health anxiety and how that often intersects with lichen sclerosus and can get worse with a lichen sclerosus diagnosis. We could talk about a whole bunch of sexual health related things. So we can talk about intimacy, self-pleasure, pleasure with others, having the conversation with future partners, having the conversation with a current partner or partners, how to kind of broach that, how to explore different forms of intimacy. We can talk about sex toys, we can talk about dilators, pelvic floor physical therapy, different forms of, ways to help, kind of pelvic floor issues. So we can definitely talk about all of those. We can also talk about like lifestyle stuff. So think clothing, exercise, anything like that, general kind of, can I do this? Can I do that? We can absolutely talk about those. And then we can also kind of work through processing the diagnosis in and of itself and navigating all of those kind of obstacles throughout the way. We can talk about remission. So I'm really happy to talk about a whole host of topics relating to lichen sclerosus. Personally, and if you know me, there's not much that is TMI for me, so anything's kind of on the table there, and I can just kind of be an ear to listen to, give you advice, give you support, and kind of be that supportive hand to kind of hold onto and walk you through those turbulent moments. So that's pretty much what I will be offering now. In a minute, I will do a little walkthrough on how you can book a session. But if you are interested in doing this, you can go to lostlabia.com/support call. And that's where you can find more information on the calls, like a more official and detailed kind of breakdown on what we can do and how to sign up and all of that good stuff. So you can definitely head on over there and check that out. And I am going to take a small break to fan myself because it is so flipping hot in Toronto. Does everyone like my fan? I got it at a drag show a while ago, so that's what I'm using because I can't have my AC on when I record, otherwise we can't really hear my voice clearly, so I'm always like sweating buckets during these calls. So I am going to go fan myself a little, and then we're going to do a little live walkthrough of how you can book a call. All right, I am back to just do a quick walkthrough of the website to show you kind of what it looks like and how to book with me. So we will jump right on into this, and we are going to start from the beginning. So you will open up Google or whatever kind of search thing you use, and you will put in losslabia.com/support call. And then you will be redirected to my kind of peer support page. Just gonna move my face over there. So this is the main page. So this will walk you through kind of, the basics of, why you might want a support call, what to expect. There's a little bit about me. If you're not familiar with me, you can kind of learn a bit there. And then at the bottom here, you have 3 call options. So the first is, again, that free 15-minute consultation. The second is a 60-minute support call, and then there's a 30-minute support call. So for the sake of this little demo, let's pretend that we are going to go in and book the 30-minute call. So you will go here, and this will bring you to the 30-minute call page. So again, just tells you what we can chat about on this call, a little bit about how it works, important disclaimers. And then if you want to see my availability before you book with me, you can view my calendar by clicking on this link. So this will open up my calendar. Any of these blue circles means there's time available. So let's pretend that we want to book for the 25th of August. So we have 2 time slots available there. Now this is very important. Please do not book anything through this link. This is just to give you an idea of when I'm available. If you find that there are no times or days that correspond with kind of your schedule, please reach out to me. You can email me at jacqueline@losslabia.com. and we will try and work out a time and date that work for you. Of course, please note that I do have a full-time job and I am in Eastern time. So, I won't be able to take calls before 8 a.m. Eastern and after 8 p.m. Eastern. So like I won't be able to hop on a call at midnight or something like that my time. I just wouldn't be my best self to support you anyways. But other than that, that's just to give you an idea. So if you want to go through and book a call, you would go down here, click on book now. Now I am already logged in as an account, so I'm just going to log myself out. So this is what you will see now. So you'll start by entering in your email address, and it's really important that you enter the email address that you check because your receipt is going to go there as well as booking reminders. So I'm going to put in Jacqueline Lantier at ellissupportnetwork.com. I'm going to enter in a password. Okay. Then you'll put your first name, your last name, and then you will put in your credit card information, which I'm obviously going to block out when I have my husband edit this. Okay, there we go. And then you will click on complete an order. So my postal code is incomplete. Where is my postal code? Oh, right there, derp. Okay, make sure you enter your postal code. And then complete order. Okay, so it's processing now. So we'll give that a moment for it to process. And then once it's processed, there are 2 ways that you can go about booking. So once you're processed, it will say, thank you for purchasing. You've been sent an email receipt. Your next step is to log into your account. So you can do it directly this way, or if you go to your email on that receipt, it will tell you the next step is to log in and book your appointment. So you can do it one of two ways. So let's log in to get started. So again, you're going to enter that same email that you entered in before. So mine is this at lssupportnetwork.org. And then you will put in the same password that you used to make the order. Okay, and then you will click log in. Oh, and now we got to see if I'm a robot. Okay. Please click each image containing a conference room. Oh no, I hate these. They're so hard because they all look, okay, a conference room. That looks like a conference room. I think that's a conference room. This looks like a conference room, and that looks like a conference room. I don't know. I'm clearly not a robot, y'all, but those things are hard sometimes. Okay, perfect. So once you confirm that you're not a robot, you will get in here and you will see any products that you've purchased. So here we've just purchased that 130-minute call. If you purchased, let's say, a 15-minute free consult and you also decided to just go ahead and book, a 30-minute, then you would see both products there. If you book a 30-minute consult with me and you're like, that went really well, I want to book 2 60 minutes, you can do that. And when you log in, you'll see one 60-minute here and one 60-minute there for you to book. So you will click on the product that you purchased, and then you will click on please book a time and date for your support call. Then you will be brought here to that calendar that you saw before. So let's just go ahead and randomly choose August 13th, and we're going to choose 9 a.m. So then you'll click confirm. Once you confirm, it'll ask you for your information. So again, you're going to put your name, your email address. So again, that would be the email address that you used to create the account, make the purchase, and make sure your email address is, of course, correct. And then share anything that will help prepare for a meeting. So if there's anything you want me to know, so if you don't want to put your camera on, you can just let me know that you don't want to put your camera on. If there are any trigger words for you, please let me know so I can avoid using those. If you want to share your pronouns, anything relevant, you can share that with me. And if there's nothing, that's okay too. If there's nothing, just leave it blank. Okay. And then you will just press schedule event. And then that's all you got to do. You are booked in. You will get an email confirmation of that booking time in your email. And then you will also get a reminder email prior to our meeting. In those emails, there are links for you to cancel or reschedule. So that's always a possibility. If you want to leave me a comment, you can go down here and leave me a comment. Let's say you submitted, but you forgot, you didn't leave me a note, let's say, and you realized, oh, I do want Jacqueline to know my pronouns and my trigger words or something, or I want to let Jacqueline know that, I'm not going to put my camera on, or if you're going to be like 5 minutes late, you can type in your comment here. I will be 5 minutes late. Okay, and then you'll just submit that. I will get a notification and then I will respond to you. And that is all there really is to it. Once you are booked, we will connect on the date that you booked and have our Zoom conversation. And if you want to book follow-up dates, that's basically going to be the same process. So that's pretty much it. Once you have your account, it's easy peasy. So that is it for this little live demo. I will stop the share function. Thank you so much. I hope that I will see you on one of these calls. All right. Thank you.
All right, beautiful souls. So that is it for me for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you are just as excited about this announcement as I am. And I hope to connect with you on one of these calls in the future. Much love, and I will catch you in the next one.